Ever since my environmental science class in high school, I've wondered about the practical application of organic pest control. Several methods exist by which farmers strive to eliminate or reduce the need for strong synthetic chemical pesticides. These products can sometimes kill beneficial insects as well as the ones that are destroying the crops, and some are also potentially harmful to humans after prolonged exposure to them. I therefore pose this question for the local farmers who are organically certified. How do you control pests and protect your produce? Some of the people who were interviewed at the farmers market responded that they use pesticides that degrade more rapidly than the stronger chemical ones on the market, and thus are less likely to cause a problem for the people consuming the food once it is harvested. This can be expensive for the farmers, however, because the more rapidly the pesticide decays, the more often it must be reapplied in order to protect the produce from the insects. It surprised me that farmers who were organic certified were allowed to use any form of pesticide, so I did some research and found out that though it is possible, the selection is limited and excludes most man-made pesticides. One example of an accepted organic pesticide would be Diatect V, which contains no synthetic ingredients. Diatect V has several advertised qualities, including rapid insect knockdown. It has flexible application options, meaning you can do it when it's wet or it's dry. It controls a wide range of pests, and it's called fast-acting and hard-hitting, but safer for workers, the environment, and the wildlife. So apparently there are pesticides out there that will work even if you're organic certified, which are not man-made. Another method of pest control utilized by farmers is crop rotation, where every few years the farmers will rearrange the location of the various foods they grow in order to avoid the accumulation of pests, which happens when one species is continuously planted in the same area. I learned about this in high school, but didn't realize that you could actually practice it on a small level. This method, as well as the practice of planting various types of crops intermingled together in the same location, can prevent some of the damaging effects of pests without the need for excessive amounts of pesticides. So our little experiment with the farmers market showed me that pest control is possible even on a smaller farm without the use of extreme amounts of dangerous chemicals. However, just because a product is labeled as organic does not mean it has been grown without any interaction with pesticides, as I previously believed. Perhaps eating locally grown food would be beneficial to both the consumers and the environment if all the produce was grown in accordance with the organic standards.
I was also surprised to find out about the organic farm process of how you have to get a government certification for that. It costs money to do that, and so a lot of the local farmers just choose to grow things organically but not be certified and just say by word of mouth, look, I do it organically, I just don't want to tell anybody. I also found that really surprising. I just didn't anticipate that happening at all. And it seems to me that it wouldn't take a whole lot of government funding, as few local farms and things like that as there are. It seems to me it wouldn't take a whole lot of funding to pay the inspectors to go around and do it just from the government itself. And then at that point, it wouldn't cost the farmers anyway, and you would be providing a service for the everyday citizens. So.
Where do you buy most of the ingredients for what you make?
I get a lot of things at Sam's, and different things at different places. Because, like for these sugar-free muffins, I need sugar-free coconut. There's only one place I can find it, so I go there to get it.
I'm representing.
There are people who resell stuff here.
Right, there are people who resell stuff. But like I'm agent for Wade's Orchard. I sell their apples, so that's technically wouldn't be allowed in Stan. Okay.
Yeah.
And no peaches would be allowed because none are grown in Augusta County except very, very few. But they've decided since the customers here in Blacksburg want the fruit that is not produced locally, they allow it. Okay. As soon as I get my yarn done, I'll be bringing homemade alpaca garments, like scarves and hats and maybe gloves. I'm trying to have everything I bring my own. It's not, the yarn won't be purchased, et cetera, et cetera. It's grown on my farm. I had to hire somebody to actually spin and card the wool into yarn, but it'll actually be a product that I grew.
Nice. I was going to ask about the cookies and brownies and stuff. How much of that is from stuff you've grown?
I use my own eggs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the only thing I can claim I made myself. Like I make pound cake from my eggs and everything.
But, you know, I have a certified kitchen, which means I'm inspected every year. I pay a fee to the Department of Agriculture here in Virginia. But, you know, the baked goods are just a byproduct because I have eggs, because the little hens like to crack a few eggs every day. And, you know, when you get so many cracked eggs or little pecked eggs, you have to use them because I can't sell them, obviously.
I guess the thing that most surprised me about the farmers market is that there aren't hard and fast rules as to what can be there. An example is the lady who bakes bread, but she buys her ingredients from Walmart. That's just, I found that amazing just because I thought it was a local farmers market, and so I just didn't realize why that would be there, but apparently it's allowed just fine. I know some other places have different requirements or maybe more stringent, but that was the thing that most surprised me.
I thought it was a pretty interesting project. I particularly enjoyed going actually to the farmers market. It's hard to believe after I'd been there that it's been 2 years and this is the first time I've been there, because they had some really interesting stuff. The people, they were really, really nice, which is actually sort of a double-edged sword, because while they were really, really nice, I thought it was kind of hard for us to ask the tough questions, like specifically the woman who bought all of her stuff at Sam's, like asking her, how do you justify that as, you know, locally grown food, I guess. You know, asking some stuff like that. And also, do you think you're doing this, like, why do you do this? Are you doing this to save the planet or because it's convenient? Nothing really against it either way, but just I didn't want to be rude and ask those questions. So that was kind of tricky. I'd like to know how you learn, like, what to spray and what to not spray, and trial and error, or take classes, or internet, or...
My husband worked at 3 or 4 different farms, 4 or 5 maybe, before starting our farm, and I served as the intern and learned from him.
Okay.
Conferences are great. It's great to go and meet other people and just talk about your experiences and what they do. We have good friends that are here at the market, and so we'll talk to them and work together. Lots of reading. We should be more proactive in our education every year. I know some farmers that say, okay, we're setting aside 3% of our annual income to spend on conferences and education and classes, and that's a great idea. We don't do it yet, but we're also in the process of building a house this year. So essentially my husband's building a house and I'm running the farm.
Nice, restful, peaceful, relaxing.
Yeah, it's been a good year. But, so that's our goal. Morning, Elizabeth. Morning. How are you this morning?
Why would you recommend coming to the farmers market and participating in the farmers market?
Well, the reason you would come and actually buy is because you know the stuff is fresh. I mean, you can look at stuff that's homegrown and tell. Whether or not it's been sprayed, you have to ask, you know, the producer, how did you grow this crop, etc. How did you raise your livestock, you know, where you got your meat and things like that. But, you know, the meat products are local. They're not like Kroger where, gosh, who knows, the cattle might have come from Argentina or Australia and then cut into little tiny pieces once it gets here. Because a lot of your beef to these major grocery store chains comes in big boxes called boxed beef, where it's just big chunks, and then the grocery stores, you know, you've seen the meat departments, they got their big old saucers to go and cut them up. And I just tell the people that process my lambs and calves and my pig how I want them cut, and usually the customers, I let them know, and they give me some feedback. This is what I want, this is the size I want, things like that. I had a customer really wanting some kids, so I'm getting a kid killed Wednesday, and that'll be the first goat here probably. I don't know, it looked good. I mean, he's cute, that's all I can say. He's cute. Well, goats are cute. And they keep staying cute till the day they're, you know, processed. They're not like cattle and sheep and a hog where they lose their cuteness, as I call it. But it doesn't bother me.
And on that note, it was time to leave the delicious food and head back to campus to discuss what we had learned.